Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Sunday's news compilation video. We have a lot of news to go over and pretty important stuff in my opinion. I've got two things to talk about real quick before we start though. This week is my birth week. One of my moderators, JT, thank you JT, this is an awesome card, sent me a card because JT's an OG and she knows that the first week of June is my birthday. So she sent me a card and it says here, let me see if I can read it. A birthday riddle, why did the chicken cross the road? Right? So why did the chicken cross the road? And I just think that this is really funny because of how I've been talking about my chickens lately, right? Let me tell you real quick. I got really upset yesterday because we had our little chick in its own separate coop. I decided to let all of the chickens and the chick commingle with Poppy and everyone outside of their coop and their run, so that they can all get used to Poppy again, and him, them, and of course so that the little chick, my wife calls her Nugget, so that she can get to know the other chickens, and hopefully they'll let her join the crew. Well, when I put them back in the pen, it looked like they were doing great. And when they were out in the run, I saw a couple of chickens start attacking Nugget. And man, that really upset me. So I had to walk in there with my shovel and do a little separation and on the spot correction, as we used to call it in the military. But anyways, why did the chicken cross the road? Because chickens are really, really stupid. And that's what I thought about when I see this card. So thank you very much, JT. I really do appreciate you remembering and sending me the card. Now, don't feel like you have to send anything, ladies and gentlemen. To me, my birthday is just another day. That's the way I see it. For other people, it means more. But for me, it's just another day. Now, probably towards the middle of the video or so, this video is not sponsored by anyone or anything. But we've got a couple of community members that wanted me to shout out their businesses, so I'm going to do that. Why? Because it's businesses that belong to our community member, and one of them is one that they started because they were inspired by what they saw on this channel, and that makes me feel really happy. And ladies and gentlemen, one last thing, okay, before we start, but I don't even know what you call these. Do you call these spurs? I think I called it something different on another video. I don't know. All I know is that this is huge. So poppies, I'm going to call them spurs. All right, they were growing so big. Look at this. That's how big this is. I have the other one in the house, but they were getting so big that they were starting to point up towards his body, so I didn't want him to get hurt. So I'm like, how in the world are we going to get these things off? So I watched a YouTube video where instead of filing them down, all you have to do is hold them, do your own research, hold the rooster, and then I grabbed his chicken leg or his chicken feet, and I grabbed a pair of pliers and I wiggled it, and then it popped off, and it did produce a little bit of blood, but I went ahead and got some blood stop powder, took care of it right quick. You don't have to worry about that probably for about another 6 months to a year. Our chemical facilities are vulnerable to attack along with so many other things, ladies and gentlemen. In the technological world that we live in, we have to be prepared for anything within our infrastructure to go down, and us ourselves be able to replace those things. The federal government has expressed growing concern that AI will empower attacks on our water, transportation, and financial systems. Again, we have to have these things as backups to the actual grid. So water, transportation, I would say probably like gasoline or fuel and stuff like that. Let's say have a backup to your power grid, etc., etc. Financial systems, we always talk about having some cash at home and outside of the banks. The Department of Homeland Security has warned that bad actors are using the technology to develop weapons of mass destruction. We know foreign nationals are illegally crossing our southern border in droves, and of course, Congress should be taking every measure to secure our nation's critical infrastructure. Yet when it comes to chemical production facilities, they have left the door wide open. And it's like that in many, many things. Take a look at about how they have failed to harden our grid against EMPs/CMEs from the sun. And this is why you have to position yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, the best that you can to protect yourself and your family against anything that can happen. And pretty much being basically prepared will put you atop over the 95% that are not. General Dynamics' new 155mm shell factory opens as war cycle kicks into higher gear. General Dynamics' new 155 factory in Texas is set to produce, listen to these numbers. It's not even that much, but it sounds like a lot. 30,000 shells per month. So they're going to produce about 1,000 shells per day. This will provide crucial support to the United States military. Oh, no, wait a minute. To the Ukrainian armed forces. Okay. And bring the U.S. Army closer to its 100,000 shell target by 2025. So right now they're producing about 30,000 a month. They want to produce 100,000 a month, of course, not to protect our borders, but other nations' borders. But I digress. And unfortunately, Russia is producing about 250,000 rounds per month, which is more than twice what we wish to produce by the year 2025. How do you think that story is going to end, ladies and gentlemen, when everything that we produce, pretty much everything, is being sent downrange and us not keeping anything here in case we have to use it? American-made weapons will soon be bound for Taiwan, as China considers Taiwan a strayed member of its territory and hasn't ruled out the use of force to assert its claim. And if you've been listening to the news here for the last few years, really, you'll know that that is 100% correct. China sees Taiwan as part of the motherland, and I believe they have a charter or something that's supposed to expire, I think, don't quote me on this, in 2027, where Taiwan is supposed to go back and be an active part of China. Michael McCall, a U.S. House Foreign Affairs chairman, says that if China attacks Taiwan, he doesn't believe that we would win right now, that we would probably lose. And the shutdown of what's happening in Taiwan, i.e. making semiconductors, will really shut down the world. And I'm sure that you all remember what happened with the semiconductor issue back during the health crisis, that we didn't have enough for vehicles, etc., washing machines, all these things. Gold is a key component of the production process because of its tarnishing properties. So I don't know what would happen to gold. I mean, I don't think that gold is used very much in the production of semiconductors, meaning in volume. How much gold is actually used every year in the production of semiconductors? It can't be that much because it's not really talked about that much. Now, if you ask me how much silver is used every year in the production of solar panels, which is one of the reasons why I think that maybe the U.S. government went over to China and told them to stop making solar panels, because they're just chomping up the world's silver, along with India, but I digress. So if you ask me how much silver, for example, I can tell you probably about 1/3 of the annual mining production of silver is used just for solar panels. Not talking about batteries, not talking about EVs, not talking about medical, not talking about anything else, just for solar panels. Whereas if you ask me the same thing about gold, like how much gold is used to make semiconductors every year, I have no idea, and I don't think that very many people would know that answer off the top of their head. They finish it off by saying the reason semiconductor shortage isn't some far off issue. It affects everyday citizens around the globe, and it does. Supply chain challenges can yield price hikes for consumers and lost jobs for manufacturers. Companies laid off thousands of workers during the health crisis because the United States lacked chips. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, I will be leaving the links to all of these articles and stories that I go over. But I thought it was very interesting that at the very end of this article, they say this: staying in cash is dangerous. Accumulating government bonds is reckless. But rejecting gold is denying the reality of money. Ladies and gentlemen, aside from preppers who get solar because we want to have a backup in case the grid goes down, most people, believe it or not, they just get solar because they want to save some money on their electric bill especially. And of course, solar is subsidized. Believe it or not, you can get a 30% tax credit on any solar system that you get that you're going to use to power your home. I know that Dick from Alaska Rare Coins went that way. Yes, I gifted him a small solar generator. However, he decided to end up getting a solar system for his whole home. And he showed me his bills, that they go backwards during the summer, and that then all of those credits that he accumulated during the summer with the electric company are then credited back to him during the winter when there's not very much solar. So anyways, if you want to hook up with Kevin, I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to his site so that you can set up an appointment and he can walk you through whatever systems or whatever questions it is that you may have on solar. This is all if you are in the market. I'm not asking you to call or anything, just to call, but if you're in the market for this system, he may be able to help you. And it's someone from our community that I've actually met in person here in Fairbanks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I received a small gift box with a whole bunch of soap products and a letter. And the letter goes something like this: life takes us on many journeys, and some of them are quite rewarding. I have watched your soap making videos and took it to another level. So this is someone that, never messed around with making soap on their own. They watched one of my, terrible videos probably, because I'm definitely not an artisan soap maker. I just know how to do the basics. But they went ahead and decided that soap making is going to be their kung fu. And they started their own soap making and candle making business. And I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, that I have my favorites, the natural and the vanilla lavender. And if you're looking for a gift for someone that smells really good, or if you want to just try them out and see which ones you like the best, order one of each. See which ones you like the best, then order them on a regular basis or get them as gifts to give away for whatever occasion. I want to thank you very much for sending me. They sent me these and a couple other, and they're all very good, but I have to say that these are my favorites. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to both of these community members' sites so you can go and check them out. And by all means, support them if you're in the market for those products. And ladies and gentlemen, President Biden is fed up and he's going to take action. After more than 10 million people that came to the United States came in through the back door, President Biden says that he's going to use an executive order to fix the problem that he created, really. And ladies and gentlemen, being unbiased, ask yourselves a question. Why? Why is he now instituting a policy that he took off the table immediately on his first day as president? Why is he putting this policy back in place? It was so important that he take it out. Why is he putting it back now? I think you probably know why. Leave it in the comments. And in the past, I've heard people say that India will be the new superpower and economic power of the world above China. Well, check this out. Strong Indian purchases push Asia's crude imports to 1-year high. We all know the more energy you have, the more output that your economy is going to have. So this is pretty significant that India is importing so much oil. Record high crude imports in India have pushed Asia's oil arrivals in May to the highest levels in a year. So India is not only gobbling up all the silver, all the gold, but also all the oil. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think that India may be the next superpower when it comes to finances, the economy, etc., over that of China? Or do you think that India is just being very business savvy and smart with how they do business because Europe is buying Russian oil via India at record rates in 2023? So ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about this before. The European Union, they did what? They sanctioned Russia. They can't buy Russian oil, Russian gas, whatever it is, right? But they're still buying it at a much higher price. That's why, in my opinion, sanctions don't work, right? Because they sanction Russia. You can't buy anything right from Russia, right? But now they're buying it a lot more expensive from India. And who's India buying it from? From Russia. At the same time, the European Union's import of refined products from India soared by 115% from 111,000 barrels per day in 22 to 231.8 thousand barrels per day in 2023, the highest figures in the past 7 years analyzed by Kepler, and most likely the highest ever. And you can take a look at this picture. It represents the upward trend. It doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon, ladies and gentlemen. So inflation is not only the overprinting of money to excess of what has been manufactured, but it's also the dumb decisions that politicians make as far as sanctions, as far as tariffs, as far as supply. And who's paying the price? The people of the EU are paying the price with exorbitant fuel prices. Why? Stupidity. And it looks like now that President Biden has all of the voters that he needs. He doesn't care about the voters in the United States, especially those that really care about crypto, which is about 60 million people in the US really care about crypto sovereignty and crypto freedom. Biden vetoed a pro-crypto bill that would allow highly regulated financial institutions to custody Bitcoin on behalf of their clients. Now, ladies and gentlemen, whether you think crypto is good, whether you think it's bad, whatever it is, this is America, and we should have the freedom to choose for ourselves. 60 million Americans hold cryptos. I'm being one of them. The American people should be able to decide what they want to use as money instead of being forced to use what the government tells them they must use. And it's one of the reasons why I say that the dollar is dead. The dollar is over. It's hanging on by a thread. And this is why the government is so afraid of things or other monies that can challenge the Federal Reserve note. Because without the freedom or the ability, let's say, of the government to be able to print as much as they want, whenever they want, they will lose their power over us, the people. With the power to dictate which money we want to use as a people, be it Bitcoin, be it gold, be it silver, whatever, it is we that have the power. Now, please understand this. Gold and silver are the ultimate money. Not only have they survived through the last 6,000 years as being used as money, but it says so on the Constitution. So right now, that Federal Reserve now that you use on a daily basis, that is unconstitutional on its face. But anyways, I digress. He vetoed a bill. This was a huge layup for Biden and the Democrats. With no effort at all, they could have wiped away years of bad press if they had become pro-Bitcoin, pro-innovation party. Instead, the president decided to veto the very first pro-crypto bill that came across his desk. American voters are voicing their support for pro-crypto policy given the 60 million or more who own and custody it. It is a losing battle to push restrictive Bitcoin policy in 2024. Again, it doesn't matter whether you're pro-Bitcoin or not. If you're pro-freedom, then you will be pro using whatever money the people want to use. It's not the government's decision. You saying that it should be the government that should decide what money we should use is you saying that it should be the government to decide what your labor is worth. And believe it or not, this EV issue is a very similar issue as well, and I'll explain. U.S. drivers overwhelmingly prefer gasoline cars to EVs. It doesn't matter why. Assuming all costs and features are the same, just 21% of consumers prefer an EV. 38% said that standard gas-powered vehicles is what they choose. 34% picked hybrid, and only 21% picked EV. Now, to tell you the truth, I've never driven a hybrid, but I think that the idea of a hybrid is great because it extends out the miles per gallon that you get, because it's kind of like a hybrid. All right, it's a team effort with batteries and gas engines. But ladies and gentlemen, what does this have to do with Bitcoin and with people being able to choose what money they use? You live in America. If you live in America, you should be able to choose what car you want to drive and let the free market decide what car is going to be mass produced at a higher rate than other cars, etc., etc. If you like gas engines, then drive cars that have gas engines if you're willing to buy one. If you like EVs, then go ahead, buy cars that are EVs if you're willing to buy one. If the infrastructure is there and if people are willing to pay the money for that infrastructure to become bigger and grow, then it will. But it should be the free market that dictates whether it will grow. It is not government's place to decide which industries win and which industries lose. Louisiana jumps on the wagon. Louisiana reaffirms gold and silver as legal tender. Why is it that states have to reaffirm what the Constitution already says is? It's because our system is so corrupt and has been so corrupt for so long. Thank you, Woodrow Wilson, for starting it off. And I covered this story on one of my shorts, on the shorts video on Friday, but I wanted to cover it a little bit more here. I want you to correct me. I keep hearing all over the place that California is instituting a 30 cent per mile tax on miles driven on their highways or on their streets, whatever it may be. But this story and the other stories that I've found tell a different story. California is launching pilot program to charge drivers per mile driven. Why is this? Because they've pushed electric vehicles so much that now the gas tax that they depend on is not being, the revenue is not being raised as much as what they need. Because why? EVs don't use gas. However, EVs in California, I believe, are taxed at a rate of $100 per year, or registration, whatever it may be. $100 per year. Why? In order to accumulate or to accrue some of that money that they're losing from the gasoline tax. The California road charge, which would record the number of miles driven annually, that is a huge Fourth Amendment violation as well. All right, when I think about this, and tax motorists accordingly. The rate hasn't been set because the road charge remains at a prototype stage. It's not a law yet. However, a cost simulator on the program's website lists 3 options. And of course, these 3 options that it lists on this pilot program, because it's not law yet, is more than likely going to be a lot lower than what it is when they actually implement the law and pass it, if they do. Which is at 2 cents, 3 cents, and 4 cents per mile. It also argues that this system could allow some motorists to save money. Really? Okay, let's see how. For example, if you drive a 2023 Honda Pilot, 1,000 miles per month, your monthly road charge bill would check in at about $20, $30, or $40, depending on which of these 3 hypothetical rates you apply. The site claims that the driver currently pays $27.57 in monthly fuel charges or taxes. Do you really think that if they implement this road tax that they're going to take away fuel taxes? I doubt it. In a way, I kind of like hope it passes just to see what happens, to teach people what not to do. Just like we were taught what not to do with the minimum wage, because California did it and now it's failing and backfiring in a big way. I want to see what happens with this, ladies and gentlemen. And also, I'm pretty sure that if they do pass this law, that they're not going to take those fuel taxes off the table. They're going to charge you both instead of one. And then they say that it is EV drivers that will end up paying more. They pay the same monthly road charge, but they currently don't pay gas tax. It says that they'll end up paying more also on top of the $100 or $200 a year that they have to pay anyways. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for today. I hope that you got something out of this, if at least a little bit of entertainment. Thank you very much for joining in. And go check out the links that I left. I'll leave them on a pinned comment as well as in the top of the description of the video for those of our community members that have their own business or participate in the economy and would like a little bit of help from you. And only if you want to get this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, or only if you're in the market. So if you're in the market for a solar panel setup for your entire house, take a look and match what this person here has to give against 5 or 6 others before you make a decision. You never know. All right. And if you're looking for nice smelly soaps and stuff like that, go ahead and take a look at the website. Everything that I smelled, I really liked. My wife has her 3 favorites, but go take a look at them and support them. Why? Because they're part of our community, and it is here in the U.S. Having said that, God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.